ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're about to have a panel discussion on a really interesting topic. So, in today's digital age, customer experience is the key differentiator for businesses. With the advent of AI-driven conversational messaging, companies can now engage with their customers in more personified, efficient, and meaningful ways. This technology is transforming customer service, marketing, and sales by providing real-time, context-aware interactions that enhance customer satisfaction and loyalty. So our next session delves into a topic that is revolutionizing the way business interact with their customers. So the topic is digital customer experience, the rise of AI-driven conversational messaging. And we are privileged to have an esteemed panel of experts who will share their insights on how AI-driven conversational messaging is shaping the future of digital customer experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our session chair, Mr. David Appasamy, Director, Strategy and Brand Social Beat. Give it up, please. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our panelists to you. So put your hands together in welcoming the Chief Technology and Digital Officer of Sundaram Finance Limited, Mr. Sudheer Warrior. Welcome, sir. A gracious welcome to the Vice President and Head AI of Tech Mahindra. Give it up for Mr. Dinesh Venugopal. And now, I would like to welcome Mr. Ashish Pawar, who is the Head Marketing of Tata Mutual Fund. Welcome, sir. Last but not the least, we are about to welcome the SVP and Head of Marketing, My TVS, Mr. Alok Saraogi. Welcome. So yes, we are about to discover how AI is changing the game in customer experience. So over to the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that fulsome introduction. And we are very, very fortunate to have such an experienced panel for this particular conversation that we're going to have. This is about customer experience. And customer experience, as you know in marketing, can lead to better outcomes overall. And we're looking at the way this has evolved. And more importantly, I think you'll find by our conversation, the way it is evolving. It's not an end state. It is evolving currently. So I'd like to invite members of the panel to make the opening remarks as they feel led.
Okay, good morning to all of you. Very happy to be here and discussing a topic for which all of us are novice. Nobody's an expert and it's evolving, so it's very comfortable to talk on a topic like this, I feel. So my opening remark on this whole subject is, I feel that we are, depending too much on technology to create customer experience. But what we should actually be doing is to go to first principles and understand what the customer wants and put more focus on the journey design, and then decide what technology should be used. So that's how I look at the whole thing. That's fine.
Absolutely. I continue from where you left. Good morning to each one of you. It's a privilege to be here. Yes, technology is evolving and AI is in the rudimentary stage and everybody wants to have their hands on. The future looks so good. Are we heading in the right direction? Yes, we are. The topic for today is AI in conversational messaging and how it's going to shape the future. Technology is in everywhere. Like you look at it's specific to the industry and also specific to what you want. You can play with it provided you have the right mindset to adapt it. I will talk about in detail in few minutes, but what I feel is like people are jumping and to the technology too early without understanding their business requirement. That's where if you look at it, 99.5% of the adoption of AI is very early and it's not giving the right benefits for them. So I will talk about that, how you should approach irrespective of whatever you want to do with the AI and what is the right methodology to adapt it to get the best benefit out of it. So glad to be here, and we will talk about in depth in a few minutes. Thank you.
I think, what I would like to tell you is, while there will be a lot of technology options which will be available, but we need to keep the customer at the center of everything which we do. And we at Tata Mutual Fund also, because while evaluating a technology or any platform, we need to understand how this will really solve the consumer problem. From a service perspective or from any other value add perspective, you need to look at it. So it's very important to really see, and there will be different. For example, these are the chatbots, and there are other things also. But we need to look at what all things will this help consumers to make his life simple? Will he be able to get what he wants? And then use that technology to the fullest.
That's encouraging. So, I mean, look, so this is an example of intelligent conversation at work, but without the artificiality of it, right? But having said that, I think there are only two axes that conversational AI or any business seeks to solve for, either conversation or commerce, right? I think we have reduced, because of we are looking at these solutions through the lens of our immediate marketing challenges. We've reduced them down to chatbots and voice-enabled services, which is, I think, the lowest common denominator. There is huge potential to use intelligent solutions that are using large NLP and LLP networks to solve important problems, either to enable commerce or increase human engagement. Hospitality does it well, banking not so much. Retail does it well, but the business that I currently lead, not so much. And I think when you start looking at it through the lens of your immediate problem, sometimes large solutions which can actually revolutionize the world get reduced to its lowest common denominator. I think one of the biggest successes we were talking about earlier in the voice-enabled space is the rise of voice-enabled devices. And when you think of an Alexa, it doesn't automatically trigger saying that's conversational AI at its best, right? But that's what it does. In an earlier role, my team and I were actually involved with localizing the Alexa solution for India. And we've seen the power of what is unlocked for Amazon, right? Both in terms of engagement, which is conversation, and in terms of e-commerce, which is enabling revenue. And those are the two lenses I think we should focus on as we sort of progress through this. So that's my little piece to begin with.
Thank you, Alok. I think it brings us full circle back to customer experience. So we're not talking technology. We are talking about solutions that enable a better customer experience, and it's moving more and more towards voice. And I think Alok's example kind of brought the segue into that. Now, if you look at it, take a simple solution like Google search. The fastest growing form of search is voice enabled. That is customer experience. Now, these are things we take for granted. All of us have used chatbots and all that sort of stuff. But the question is, where will it go next? And I think during the earlier conversation, one of the things we discussed was that the AI assistants like Siri and like Alexa, like Echo, all of these create a personalized experience which is far greater in terms of how the customer engages with your product. And I think in this case, that is what is going to shape the discussion going forward in terms of how we use various AI solutions to better engage with customers. So a recent McKinsey survey, worldwide survey, showed that there were use cases across the spectrum in terms of a company's operations, but possibly the highest level of adoption as of now was in marketing, and often to do with customer experience, because it's low-hanging fruit. Chatbots are also restrictive in what they can do because of templatized responses. That's where it seems to be coming into play a larger role in terms of personalizing the experience of a customer. Now, can we talk about voice-enabled and how that is shaping the journey going forward in messaging? And Ashish, you had a very interesting take on that as well when you talked about the video. So if you could hear about that first, and then we can move around the panel.
Sure. So I will talk about a unique case study which we used. I think, in our, I belong to a mutual fund industry where, markets are up, down. So, we need to do a commentary every day. Now, getting our fund managers every day speaking on their funds was a challenge. Because a video productions, B, their timings, and it has to go before 9 a.m., before the market starts. So what we did was very clear, we did an AI video. We recorded a video of our fund managers now, which is there, and now I just need to do is in the morning I get the script, I put it into the system, and the video is ready. Now, which I can send it to my consumers, which is personalized, saying that, hey Ashish, here is a video from our fund manager. It also starts with saying that, and my fund manager also will start with saying that, hey Ashish, there are 5 things which you need to know. Or hey Anmol, these are the 5 things you need to know. So we have personalized it till that level. So this is how this has helped us. And one, of course, it has helped me personalize things. Second, it also has helped me scale it. So I can send it, these videos can be made in like 15 minutes to more than 1,000 customers also.
So I can follow through on that, right? I think AI-enabled solutions work best for, at least in the current, present sort of landscape, possibly works best for your high-value customers who are time scarce and time poor. Hospitality does that really well. Hospitality is 24/7, but humans can't be 24/7. High-value customers in luxury hotels, and I don't want to name the luxury chain, but a leading hotel brand is doing that really, really well. High-value customers wants to be able to speak to you 24/7, but the concierge can't be available 24/7. So they've now trained voice, and they've used voice AI to make sure that there is somebody to answer customer questions in a personalized way 24/7. It talks about your booking, it talks about your booking confirmation, it talks about room upgrades, it talks about spa treatments and what you can pre-book, customized to who you are. And why to who you are? Because the hotel has your history. So they know who you are, when did you stay last, what have you done in the past. They know your dietary preferences, so they can actually use that, and they're using that successfully to offer spa solutions to their customers. Give them options of sometimes if you're interested on what you can do in excursion when you're staying with the hotel. I think it's quite powerful, but they know that it's not for everybody. So they're not for people in this room, for example, who are business users, who are only here to check in the morning and check out in the evening because you're away from your room all day long. They're doing that for their leisure customers, high value, time scarce and very demanding. Not always best served by humans, but in this case, very well served by technology platforms.
Yeah, just my take on this is this whole voice-enabled services are, as I told, very nascent. We have heard a lot of examples of Google doing this and Amazon doing this, but for businesses which are here, my sort of 2 cents based on my experience is we have to first try the voice enabled thing for internal customers, right? At least for us in Sundaram Finance, we have people who are out there on the field and they have different types of interactions with our customers. And most of the people here or in different regions are not very comfortable with, say, English, right? For them, having an agent, which is what we are experimenting, that they can speak in their local language, but the response comes back to them in a manner that they can consume for interacting with seems to be a very simple one, but is of very high value for our internal customers. But that's it's not only productivity improvement, it is a convenience stuff. Plus, the thing that there are people who know how to do a certain thing very well. If I need to bring it to all the people, I can use a technology like this. Because otherwise, of the 2,000 people I have, 400 people are very good at that. But how do I bring this knowledge to the remaining 1,600 people, right? Those are places where we are trying to look at how voice-enabled agent services can be put in place. I think that's my suggestion to the team, people here, to try it internally, before we even looking at the end customer, because the nuances, the complexities of handling voice is not trivial, right?
I think the point here is we are moving from a certain level of automation when it came to chatbots and all that sort of thing, to the advent of AI, which is based on generative pre-trained programming, which can learn on the job, and also voice recognition, so it can understand what is being said and respond, and the more it does it, the better it learns. And I think, Dinesh, if you could speak to that, to say how it's shaping the future.
Yes, absolutely. That is where we are heading towards. Before I talk about the future, I think with a lot of implementation that we have done, we have created so much of chatbots. I can tell you with experiential authority that 99% of the implementation that we have done, people using the chatbot not to the best extent possible. So they use the off-the-shelf product and they implement in their the business, and they say that they have the AI-driven chatbot and they are enabled. It's not. Chatbot is not about, it's a traditional bot, I would rather say. AI is so specific, you are missing the trick here is, I can name so much of customers even, you can go and find out. Within a minute you can find out they are not using the AI to the full extent possible. You are talking to a robot, right? The AI is successful, that is the metrics that we measure. The only way to measure the AI is playing its role is the person who is using the system should not feel that they are talking to a system. They are talking to somebody, a real-time, a human being. They are sitting on the other side of the business. That is how it should build. So what they are missing right now in the system is they have some tools and frameworks, the algorithms, the models are all created. They use the data to train. But the crux of this is the sentiment analysis, right? The emotional analysis. So there is a method to do that. There is a way you can enable that to your system. So the system should be able to understand what the requirement is rather than with the predefined responses actually. So sentiment analysis and the emotional analysis, we say, it should be your integral part of AI development. So I don't see that it's happening in the right system. To answer your question, David, yes, we are heading towards that. That's how we have to build a model, and we have to enable the technology in such a way that it's more like a human conversation than a machine to human conversation. One example I can give you is the system can understand the mood of the customer. You can't say hello buddy when the person is not in the right mood. So by understanding the way they talk, the speed at which they type their question can determine what mood they are right now in, the tone at which they are talking, right? The word they are using. There is an algorithm, there is a way to build the technology within minutes. It can understand what is the mood of the customer, and then they can fine tune your recommendation accordingly. It's not like a plain traditional chatbot. So we are nowhere there, as he correctly said, right? We all are the early stage of the game, and there's so much of things that could possibly can do.
So we made great strides in automation to make it easier for the customer to engage with us. And that's really what has happened up to now. But we're at the cusp of a different era where it's not automation, it's not templates, it's not a robot speaking to you. As Dinesh said, it is almost like another human being interacting with you. And if it is voice enabled, all the better. Alok, you talked about how these commerce companies are doing some things which are very interesting. We talked about WhatsApp, we talked about Instagram. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I find it a little ironical. So we sit in these little pockets of our own industry, category, brand, business, and talk about big things like conversational AI solving problems. But there are other people out there who are using the same technology and building global world-leading businesses. Just take the example of Duolingo, right? It's a classic example of what conversational intelligence and artificial intelligence can build. It's completely powered by intelligence. It's completely powered by a self-learning platform. You're able to learn at your own pace, and I think the way it's not just transformed education but learning is fairly incredible, right? Look at what a brand like Sephora is doing. Sephora is using intelligence and AI platforms to do personalized recommendations for cosmetics and makeup brand to women, right? I think it's fairly revolutionary in what it's able to manifest. In a business like ours, and I currently I'm building India's largest automotive aftermarket platform. So all your four-wheeler car maintenance service requirements we fulfill through a business called MyTVS. But in our current context, right, and which is the irony, we are excited about WhatsApp integration, and to us that's the epitome of integrating technology into our business. And we were talking earlier, right, and I was telling Dinesh that if partners like him can help us understand how we can use technology solutions to either enable commerce or conversation and give it to us at bite-sized budgets. Every marketer in this room and outside is willing to experiment, right? But the only point is, therefore, these are large technology interventions and revolutions. We are reducing them to voice-enabled, chatbot, WhatsApp integration, and that's not the conversation we want to be having. We can build world-leading solutions using these, and intelligent marketers in hospitality, in skincare and personalized routine, and so on and so forth, are doing that very successfully. My biggest pet peeve is with the finance business, no offense. I think banking really reduces this whole to a very unintelligent chatbot experience, and we all base our view of AI through that lens, and obviously it fails every single time, right? So that's the response.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to as automation more than true AI. I think where this could lead next, and again I'll lean on you, Dinesh, for this, is personalization and context awareness. How is the engagement with customers going to become more personalized and more contextually aware through the use of AI?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
And after that, when do you think multimodal engagement will come in, where the customer can choose how he wants to engage, and the AI application can respond accordingly?
Absolutely. I'll answer both of your questions. So where we are heading, I definitely can sense it because I'm talking to multiple clients across the globe, and I can give you a lot of use cases. And before talking about that, I'll talk about a specific industry for where you can relate to, right? So for example, the success of the AI is like, I give you one example where you can relate. If a company has a brick and mortar store and also a relevant AI messaging platform or their digital channel, could be website or whatever it is, if a customer prefers to pick the other one rather going to brick and mortar, I can give you IKEA. IKEA is one example where they have a very large store, not that much here in India, but in US, if you go every nook and corner, you have that office there, right? But even if you have brick and mortar store, if a person prefers to go to their website to buy a product, that is the success of how you enabled your AI there. Because IKEA has a very strong AI powered system where we played a little bit role over there as well, where you can use their own digital system to take a picture of your room, and that gives you tons of recommendation where you can put your furniture in the right space and what color might suit your wall color. And that is not possible when you go to a brick and mortar store and choose by yourself. That reduces the onus of the buyer. That's number one. The other example I can give you is Sephora, Singapore company, where it has tons of virtual artists, right? You cannot try all the products, and that's where you can have your avatar created and you can play with those, and gives you an amazing saves a lot of tons of time. Sephora is that one example we can tell you. H&M in Sweden, there you can gives you tons of recommendation UI. That's where we're heading. The adoption is very good in the Western world. In India, it's still in the very theoretical phase. We haven't done yet. I'm not sure whether I can name the company name, but they are still not there. For example, you want to name it Lenskart. I know Lenskart say they have AI enabled, but if you look at it, they do have a brick and mortar store. They do have an AI enabled platform to check your glasses, but you buy yourself, with the app, you will not get that fit. You have to go to the brick and mortar store to do that. So the mistake they would have made is like they seen the Western world adapted that. They want to do it immediately without doing the assessment, without doing the exact technology integration, because there is a hardware integrator, right? It's not everything about platform, software and business. there is a hardware, what type of system you use, what is your solution that you're building in. That needs a deep understanding. As you said, everything needs an assessment. You need to understand the business case. You can't ask the customer, what is your problem and what solution we can offer. That is not going to give. As you correctly said, the customer may not know what problem they have. So it's the responsibility of the technology company like us to go and understand what business they do an assessment, and then evaluate and do that. Coming back to the question, the future looks so promising. And in every industry for that matter, like as I said, IKEA, and I can tell you in food industry, Domino's is doing a wonderful job in bringing AI to pick what sort of a food might you require for this particular day. And technology-wise, yes, we are trying to bring the cost down so that adoption could go high. People may have a misunderstanding or misconception that AI is very expensive, but it is not. There are so much of players who are giving open source and a wonderful product to evaluate. So only thing is, it's inevitable. You cannot ignore AI anymore, because a couple of years back, it is in the discussion phase. Now it is inevitable that your business has to use it. For example, I can give you, in 2002, in Dell, Whitefield, Bangalore, they had close to 5,500 sales CSR, customer sales representative, to run their offshore call center for selling their computers and solutions. Now they are running the office only with 65 employees. So there are 5,000 associates have been moved to a different role or might have left the company. So it's done through AI, it's done through different way of doing. So look at the way the company is evolving, right? So it's inevitable that AI is going to replace certain job. It is there to make your life more easier and absolutely make it more grander, right? So,
thank you, Dinesh. I'm now going to turn away from the panel and ask you a question. How many of you have used ChatGPT? That's still only about 30% of the audience. You mean the rest of you haven't even tried it? I can tell you in our company, we use ChatGPT for research, and it can give you 80% of the content that you need, which you need to top up, all right? Even if you want to generate a PowerPoint presentation, you can give it the topic and say, this is the audience I want to speak to. Can you create a PowerPoint deck for me? It'll create one. You need to fine tune it. It's a great efficiency tool. Please try it. Now, ChatGPT is not magic, okay? As it says, ChatGPT is generative pre-trained programming. It has learnt enough to be able to help you. It doesn't replace you. It has learnt enough to help you. So please start this journey there, and you'll be better able to understand how you can actually use solutions like that to enhance your customer experience. That's the point I want to make. And Ashish, Pawar had talked about the videos. There was an earlier NASCOM session where it's talking to SMEs about how they can use AI to engage with their prospects for marketing. And to open their eyes, I answered the first question with a video generated by AI, which was me answering the question, although I was on stage. Wonderful things are happening, but you need to dive in and experience it. You need to engage with it. Having said that, I will now open the floor for questions.
I have a follow-through on what Dinesh was talking about, right? Look at what's happening in the world of e-commerce today. What's the biggest difference between Amazon and Instagram? Instagram is where you go to sort of get entertained, and Amazon is where you go to buy products, right? And we won't even come to quick commerce. What do you think Amazon's biggest problem today is, outside of the quick commerce players which are actually eating their lunch, is that people aren't spending enough time on Amazon. And Instagram's problem was people aren't buying enough on Instagram, right? And this is how technology is solving for both problems. So Amazon, which is the world's largest e-commerce platform, wants to become the place where you actually spend your attention. And Instagram, which is the world's largest attention-grabbing platform, wants to grab your dollars now. And it's all being done through the use of technology. So the way you've got voice integrated on on Instagram, you've got AI-enabled chatbots on Instagram, you've got the ability to make instant purchases, are classic examples of technology at play. Amazon in turn is now saying, look, you're spending your dollars, but you're not spending enough time on me, right? So I want you to spend time. So now they're using technology to create engagement opportunities. And they've got possibly one of the largest posse of influencers, micro-influencers who they've onboarded now to create content for them. They want to create content for every single category and as many products as they can because they want you to spend your attention. So the simple point is, there's a lot of kerfuffle out there in terms of what technology can enable for who. It's the lens that we see our businesses through. For mid-level marketers and like all of us, we're all looking at the problems of today, but businesses will outlive all of us. So if we can just simply change the lens to say, what will happen 10 years from now? And we were talking about this earlier. We think about consumers as this artificial construct. We forget that each of us is the consumer sitting right here. We've got the same problems, the same frustrations, the same joys, and the same requirements. And there are brands serving us as well. So if we can just future gaze into ourselves 10 years from now, how do we want to be either buying or engaging? And I think the solutions are going to come from that, right? So that's a simple point I want us to follow through.
Thanks, Alok. I think coming off what Alok said, stop thinking technology, start thinking customer experience and engagement, and what are the solutions that can make a difference to your business. Technology can enable, there are people to do that. There's Tech Mahindra, there are so many other companies. Sudheer used to be with TCS for 30 years. These are all experts in bringing you the solution. But you need to look at what kind of an experience can I give my customers which will lead to their being with me longer. So you don't worry about the technology, think customer experience. That's the takeaway here.
Can I add something so that if people want to ask questions? So I want to a little bit demystify this whole thing, okay? This whole thing of artificial intelligence can only happen if there is intelligence. I hope you all understand that, right? And I mean it, I'm not using words to play. If I need to model, I need to teach a machine something, we need subject matter experts in that field. Okay, I think this chat GPT is over glorified what can be done. To put or to leverage a language model into a business context is not a trivial job. Okay, so the language model is only to understand your what you say, pick from the billions of documents and data that they have scanned from the internet, and they have created a model. So there is something that they know. You can create a PPT which may be 70%. The remaining 30% will take you actually more time than if you had to create it in the first place. Okay, so I think we should not get overly this thing about it. Our important thing is, since I'm from technology, and I don't know how many of you are from technology, companies are not successfully using AI, and we are trying to do it here after I have come in, is underlying these language models, which are used as a channel for communication. The language model by itself is not intelligent. Intelligence is beneath that, which is in the data that you have, the models that you create, and that what they call the response react architecture that you create in between. So it is exactly like a human being. If you look at, if you think of somebody who's a subject matter expert in your own field, and you go and ask that person something, how will that person process that whole thing? There is a chain of thought that that expert will go through. Okay, AI has called it COT, chain of thought. They create an acronym, and you will think it is some, nothing. Chain of thought. Okay, there is a COT framework. That means every problem that a customer or a user is trying to solve, you have to convert it into chain of thought. And that is how you have to engineer the prompts. Because it's essentially, you say something, I prompt something, you say something, and ultimately I figure out what it is and then I give you back. Okay, so it's exactly how a human works, very loosely. So if all of you sitting here think that somebody will create that, a Tech Mahindra or TCS will come and create, sorry, they can't create. If your subject matter experts are not involved in the process of saying, I want to create this service for my customer, I will get the best guy in my company or best guys in my company to say how they would do it if they were to do it manually, and convert that into a, then the technology guys can do it. You tell boss, this is how it is. This is the chain of thought. This is how I would, if this is asked, this is what I will ask. But for this, I need this data. Because 90% of the time in companies, we don't even know what data is required to service the customer. Okay, so it is not a big task, but to expect that AI and chat GPT or a WhatsApp will solve this is oversimplifying it. WhatsApp can do nothing. Okay? If somebody has used WhatsApp, it's because that journey was designed by somebody in a series of steps which made sense, and there was data available in that company which could feed into this series of steps. WhatsApp by itself is only a channel. Chat GPT is a slightly better channel because it has got a language model in it. So I think it is important for all the people in marketing business to read a little bit of this and not get overwhelmed. Okay? Because I come from that world and I've seen the business world, there is this feeling of overwhelmed thing. And this artificial intelligence, nobody creates. We only have to create that intelligence. And then it will help us. So precisely one guy's knowledge can be shared with 50,000 people. That is artificial intelligence. It doesn't just come on its own. And because there are so many people feeding into it, that intelligence can get better and better and faster. It's democratizing intelligence, essentially. That's what it's trying to do. So I just want you to get this perspective. Now you can ask your questions. It will be more, don't get worried that how can I ask a question in an AI for I don't know anything about AI. Maybe now you can ask.
Thanks, Sudheer. I think those who feel intimidated by things like ChatGPT, it's just a solution, that's all. It's not competing with our intelligence. It is something you can use. That's all it is. That's why I said you need to dive into it. Start using it and figure out what it can do. It can never replace us. Questions?
Can you get the mic to them?
At least that's the hope.
Thank you. So Alok sir, I saw that you talked about conversational voice bots AI, that you talked about the Lakshadweep hotel about. Despite of having, like you talked about, Mr. Sudheer, that conversation-based AI can be a problem, but what if the language barrier is done and the language is integrated and everything is done? Do you think that products like Vapi, Voxia and Interact's AI can still be a problem when it comes to adoption of it in country like India or something?
Sorry,
the adoption of conversational AI as a concept itself, do you think that can be an issue for moving forward in the future?
See, adoption is an emotional thing. Okay, so for example, if I have to call a bank or any service, if I get a series of voice, sometimes I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not sure unless I speak to a person. Not that person is any more intelligent, but that is an emotional thing. We are slowly, IVR was a very,
yes,
very weak interface.
Yes.
But with voice bots, you're feeling a little more comfortable because the kind of responses are coming, you are able to relate to it.
Yes.
So I think the adoption will come with changing the emotion, and the emotion will improve if your response is a lot more closer. Or for example, I give an answer and I say this could be 70% right. That gives me more confidence that while I'm giving you the answer as a chat bot or a conversational engine, I'm also saying this likelihood of this being right is about 70%. I don't think it is 90%.
Yeah, that's the major problem.
That gives me confidence, right?
Yeah.
Because emotions are not easy to change.
Yeah. So basically that's the thing that Voxia and Interacts, everything are planning to like solve out. The conversation, bringing the conversation part and adding emotions to the AI itself.
So let me also follow through on that because you addressed it to me as well, right? So I think there are some inherent stumbles we need to acknowledge. Language is a very tricky thing because we overestimate how English familiar versus how English literate we are as a country, right? My business, for example, is a very high-touch business, but it's heavily dependent on language capability. Therefore, I run a 100-strong call center because my customers want to speak to a human. They will ask questions in their native language, and they expect to be responded to in that language. Because it's not a complex service, but because the industry or the category has so far sold it as a complex service offering, they want the reassurance that you know what you're doing and that you will do a good job of my vehicle, right? The reality of the country today is that if you will see it through the lens of English only, there are about 50 million Indians who think of English as a native language, whether it's their first or their second, right? The bulk of the country is not English literate, leave alone English familiar. One of the reasons why voice technology hasn't taken off the way it potentially can is because of precisely this, that no one's really solved for the localization of these technologies to serve the problems of this country in our own languages. And it's not a language, but multiple languages, right? The minute you start talking about language integration into business solutions, I no longer can do one language. I need to do at least 5 primary languages, which is 5x the cost. The minute I go to my CEO and say I'm going to spend 5x the cost to offer a better solution which I cannot quantify, which I cannot do the impact assessment of today, I will never get the budgets. Right? So that's one of the reasons why it hasn't taken off the way it can. But as technology becomes sophisticated, as partners like Tech Mahindra can reduce the costing of that, and as we can get more sophisticated in localizing these technologies to bespoke solutions for our country, problems that we face as Indians in our languages, I think it will take off in a significant way. We are a little away from that today because we haven't done that, right? But as we start doing more of that, I think it's going to get much easier.
But Alok, I would like to just clarify something. This whole language problem is being solved at the India level. There is a program called Bhashini, if you don't know, which actually helps in translating. That's a service the government of India is doing, which is being piloted very heavily. Including RBI is adopting that and providing it to financial services customers. So the cost angle that Alok said might come down because it's a service and you could use different languages for translation. So to that extent, I think the language problem.
The only caveat is, and of course a lot's made out of Bashi as well, but the only caveat is like all services which are government led, it's a little hard to figure out exactly where it will end up. But one of the places that the government's revolutionized technology is this entire UPI system, right? It's not conversational, but I think government can do a lot more things. How Bashi will end up, we don't know right now. It's still in the development phase. To the best of my knowledge, and if you have otherwise, I don't think it's really been commercialized in a meaningful way so far. But we're all holding our breaths. We are hoping that it'll be that catch-all solution for everyone. But I haven't seen that in practice so far.
Yeah, I think we'll see if there are any more questions at this point.
Yeah,
there are quite a few.
So, Ashish was telling about the synthetic video which you were doing during the everyday analysis and all, to the primarily focused to individual consumer basis things. Once once you are delivering this kind of synthetic video, once the consumers identify this is a synthetic video which is being personalized, then the consumer experience will be in another end will be right, because it is easily and nowadays the technology is very easy to identify the synthetic video by the experience what they feel. So how we are going to rectify that? Do you face those kind of feeling response from your end? And another one is regarding this Dinesh told about sentimental analysis of thing. Even Bhashni is struck up in the sentimental analysis. It is not much good as in the regional languages, which sentimental analysis can be done through English language as popularly speaking. But Indian languages, sentimental analysis, we have very huge gap in the sentiment analysis. How we are going to mitigate these things when it comes to consumer? We are talking about conversational thing, right?
Okay.
Before you answer that, Ashish, let's keep the questions brief, okay? Because then we can have more questions.
Answer your question one. So see, earlier we never used to send out a video to our customers which is personalized. Now, and information was used to be given out in a written format or from a small note or a letter or an email sort of stuff. Now, if you see, people like seeing videos. Why are we on Instagram to the world? And because there's somebody, they want to see somebody talking. Now, if we have ease that process. So from an email thing where I have to take an effort and read out, now somebody is already, while playing, while driving a car, I can hear it out. While just going through or going in a cab, I can see it. So I'm trying to make it life easy. See, I understand there will be a challenge where a person doing a video on his own versus a AI video, it would be different. But what I'm trying to solve for, I am doing, first I was sending the commentary through an email, now I'm doing through a video. Which one is better? Of course, we'll go to a next level, but we need to adopt that technology and move forward. So that's the question one. Now on to the second question, I always feel ki, as we say that conversational AI, it has to be conversational. So to base is, how can it be conversational? We need to focus on that. And I was speaking to Dinesh, and he's saying that, you need to understand, as he rightly said, how the person is typing, what all things he are doing. So you need to look at and focus at all those aspects and bundle it out. And right now we are at a very nascent stage. I would like to conclude on that. Of course, there are a lot of learnings which will happen.
Next question.
And no, to your point, it's not easy to figure out the real from the fake. The entire deepfake industry is based on not being able to differentiate between the both, right? And that's just making it harder for legit businesses to solve for it through video.
Thank you for all these. This one is a wonderful session to hear. And what I felt is, for example, now there is a fascination for these chat GPT and this conversational messaging, right? And now, even after a year, now we are realizing that these are, from the human eye perspective also, we are able to differentiate between what is written by an AI versus what is written by humans, right? And even if it is a video recorded, it's in the human voice, still we are able to differentiate. So how long will this fascination be? Means what I meant is, after 10, 15 years, do we have to invent something very different and very new? Because people are now very easily differentiating between even resumes, emails, what is written by ChatGPT versus this one. So in future, in the near future, should we have to reinvent all these things again, or should we have to scrap this and say, let's go back to the original one, let's make the humans talk, not the technology talk, because it's not working.
Before Dinesh answers, you have to wear your soothsayer hat now.
That's an interesting question, right? I'll try to make the answer very brief. Yes, we have seen what AI could do. The only thing which still has to be fixed is to reduce the gap between a person finding out it's actually a human and not the machine. That's where the entire training is matter. As he correctly said, intelligence is nothing but what you enforce, is how you train the model, right? So it's everything. The artificial intelligence, the way it works, we call it neurons, right? In the brain, it's the neurons, how it connect to your brain, but we say it's a neural network. Exactly the same technology is what we are adapting. We have the neural networks that talk to your deep learning methodology and try to replicate how a human could think. The maturity can achieve is the way of you train the data. So how you can measure, there's a metric to do that. By testing it and seeing how close and relevant is it to see how a human could have replicated. The more closer you go, we say so much of metrics, right? Precision, F1 score, accuracy. These are all the terminologies we use in training a model. The more it is more than 95 to 97%, if you reach that scale, it's very hard to find out whether it's a human who is talking or the machine it's talking. I can give you tons of examples. You can change the voice of a man to a female, and you can't even find out that way. So that is really possible. And where the future is heading is AI is here to stay. You can never ignore it. Every industry, every domain, everything that you touch every day is going to be AI specific, right? So how quickly you can adapt it, how quickly you can play with it, it's always going to change. We can't reinvent. I think we have matured. We evolved from caterpillar to butterfly. Now we cannot go back to caterpillar anymore. Now the evolution has already happened. So we are here to stay.
Okay, reality bites. I've got a red sign here saying time's up. So what we'll do is we'll take questions offline once we finish with the session. thank you, every one of you, for your contribution for a wonderful, wonderful panel discussion. And I think we had euphoria, we had practical application, we had the future, and we had reality check. I think it all went beautifully to give you a very, very good perspective.
I just
Thank you.
want to say one thing that Dinesh said, there is no choice, we have to adopt to AI. Actually, I will change it saying AI has to adopt to us.